Have you ever woken up at 3 a.m., wide awake, staring at the ceiling, with no idea why? It's like your mind starts racing, but your body just won't go back to sleep. What if I told you that waking up at 3 a.m. could actually be a message from God? Stick around, because in the next few minutes, I'll explain why this happens and how you can use those early morning wake-ups to hear from Him. When we wake up at odd hours, especially around 3 a.m., it can feel strange and unsettling. In today's busy world, we're conditioned to focus on our to-do lists and our daily tasks. But in those quiet moments of the night, there's something powerful happening. It's in the stillness, when everything else is quiet, that we might hear the whispers of God. The idea of waking up at 3 a.m. isn't just a coincidence. It could be a message. Throughout history, God has used the night, the quiet hours, to speak to His people. In the Bible, we see many examples of individuals who received important messages or guidance during the night. In fact, it's often during these times of solitude and stillness that God's voice becomes clearer. Think about it. At 3 a.m., the distractions of the day are behind you. Your phone is likely off. There's no rush to be anywhere, and your mind can focus without the usual interruptions. This is why so many people experience a heightened sense of awareness or clarity during the night. It's the perfect time for God to get your attention. In this video, we'll dive into the spiritual significance of waking up at 3 a.m. and explore why it could be more than just a random occurrence. We'll look at how you can interpret this experience as an invitation to deepen your relationship with God, to listen for His guidance, and to reflect on what He might be trying to show you. Whether you're experiencing a restless night or a sense of peace during these early hours, I believe there's a divine purpose behind these wake-up calls. The first thing to understand about waking up at 3 a.m. is that it's not just a random biological occurrence. It can have spiritual significance. In fact, throughout the Bible, we see that God often spoke to people during the night, in the quiet hours when distractions were minimal and the heart was more open. The nighttime, particularly around the early morning hours, is a time of stillness where God can speak clearly to those who are willing to listen. Take the story of Samuel, for example. In 1 Samuel chapter 3, we see how God called out to Samuel in the middle of the night. He was just a boy, lying in bed. But when he woke up, he didn't realize it was God calling him. It wasn't until the third time that he recognized God's voice. Samuel was called in the silence of the night, at a time when everything was still. This moment wasn't just about hearing God's voice. It was about being open and receptive to His call. Similarly, Jesus often retreated to the quiet of the night to pray and connect with His Father. Mark 1:35 says, "Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place, where He prayed." Jesus understood the value of solitude and stillness, and it was in those moments that He drew closer to God. If Jesus needed that time to commune with the Father, how much more do we need that stillness in our own lives? Waking up at 3 a.m. could be God's way of calling you to this moment of stillness, to listen more closely to His voice, and to reflect on where He's leading you. It's a reminder that we don't always need to be busy to hear from God. Sometimes, He speaks most clearly when we're not rushing around or distracted by the noise of the world. It's also important to note that waking up at 3 a.m. isn't always a message of discomfort or warning. It could simply be an invitation to connect more deeply with God in prayer. The quiet of the early morning hours provides the perfect opportunity to pray, reflect, and seek guidance. God may want you to bring your worries, questions, or desires to Him during this time. whether it's a specific situation in your life that needs attention or just a moment of connection. God wants to be with you in these quiet moments. So, if you find yourself waking up at 3 a.m., don't just lie there frustrated, trying to fall back asleep. Instead, take that moment to sit in God's presence. Quiet your mind, focus on Him, and open your heart. It's a sacred time where you can invite God to speak to you, guide you, and give you the peace you need to rest. Whether it's a message, a moment of reflection, or simply an opportunity to be still in His presence, 3 a.m. might just be God's way of drawing you closer. The problem many of us face when we wake up at 3 a.m. is that we don't know what to do with that time. We feel frustrated because we can't get back to sleep, and our minds start racing with thoughts of the day ahead, or we worry about the fact that we're awake when we should be resting. We can easily chalk it up to a restless night or stress from our busy lives. But we often miss the deeper, spiritual significance of those early morning wake-ups. The challenge is not just about falling back asleep, but learning how to use those moments when we're awake to draw closer to God. It's easy to let these moments slip away, letting our minds wander into worry, anxiety, or even frustration. Instead of surrendering to that restlessness, we have the opportunity to make those moments a time of connection with God. However, we often overlook this because we're so used to filling our time with distractions, whether it's scrolling through social media, worrying about the future, or thinking about what we didn't accomplish during the day. But if we can shift our mindset and see this time as a gift from God, we can turn these moments into something meaningful. It's important to recognize that waking up at 3 a.m. doesn't always have a clear explanation in the natural sense. It's not always because of something we ate, the noise around us, or stress. It could be a call to pray, a sign that God is trying to get our attention. So, the challenge isn't in trying to force sleep back. It's in embracing the stillness and taking the opportunity to listen, pray, or reflect on what God might be saying to us in that quiet moment. Many people experience peace and clarity when they allow themselves to pray or meditate during these times. It's often in those moments of vulnerability and quietness that God speaks to us most clearly. But the challenge is allowing ourselves to be open to it. We have to resist the urge to be frustrated by our wakefulness and instead embrace it as a chance for spiritual growth. What if the next time you wake up at 3 a.m., instead of feeling irritated or restless, you take a moment to pause and ask God, "What do you want me to hear right now?" Maybe He's calling you to pray for someone, to ask for guidance in a particular area of your life, or simply to be still in His presence and let Him bring you peace. It's in these moments of stillness and surrender that we can often hear God's voice most clearly, free from the distractions of the day. This is where the real transformation happens, when we allow God to meet us in the quiet of the night. The beauty of waking up at 3 a.m. and experiencing that stillness is that it offers an opportunity for spiritual development. The world is quiet, the demands of the day are far away, and there's a sense of peace that can only come in these quiet hours. It's a sacred moment that can be used for reflection, connection with God, and receiving His guidance. But the question is, what do we do with that moment? When you wake up at 3 a.m., you don't have to struggle against it. Instead, embrace it. In that quiet space, you can surrender your thoughts to God and invite Him to speak into your life. Think of it as a chance to open your heart to His direction. Whether you're unsure about a decision, feeling anxious, or simply seeking peace, this is a time when you can lay it all before Him. It's in the silence of the night that God can speak to our hearts most clearly. You might not get a loud, dramatic answer, but you could receive a sense of peace, a gentle nudge, or a thought that brings clarity. These are all ways that God communicates with us. God doesn't always work in grand ways or during the busyness of the day. Often, He works in the quiet and stillness. The quiet hours of the night are an invitation to draw near to Him, to listen for His voice, and to seek His peace. Instead of allowing your mind to spiral with worry or frustration about being awake, turn that energy into a prayer, a reflection, or a meditation. If you're unsure what to pray for, simply start by thanking God for the new day ahead, asking for His guidance, or inviting His presence into your heart. Sometimes, God wakes us in the night because there's something He wants us to focus on. Maybe it's a particular person who needs prayer, or maybe it's an area in your life where you've been neglecting God's call. Waking up at 3 a.m. could be a nudge to spend more time in prayer. Seek clarity about a decision, or pray for someone in need. God's timing is perfect, and these moments are not accidental. They are divine appointments designed to help us grow closer to Him, trust Him more fully, and surrender our worries to Him. Additionally, these moments can help us develop a deeper sense of trust. When we intentionally invite God into our night, we're actively acknowledging that He is in control, even in the quiet, vulnerable hours. Trusting God during the night, when we might feel the most uncertain, builds our faith in His constant presence. And over time, these wake-up moments can deepen your relationship with Him. Instead of being frustrated by a sleepless night, you'll start to look at these times as opportunities to connect with God, to pray, and to hear from Him. It's also important to note that even if you don't feel like you're getting any immediate answers, spending this time in prayer or stillness is never wasted. God honors the time we give Him, even if we don't always receive clear direction right away. It's the act of showing up, seeking Him, and being present in that quiet space that allows God to work in our hearts. The more you practice this, the more you will recognize the peace and clarity that comes from those sacred moments. You might even find that waking up at 3 a.m. becomes something you look forward to, a time when you can rest in God's presence and trust Him with whatever lies ahead. The key moment in understanding why you wake up at 3 a.m. is realizing that these wake-ups aren't random. They can be a deeply personal invitation from God. Instead of seeing them as frustrating interruptions or restless nights, you can begin to view them as sacred moments where God is inviting you to connect with Him. It's as if He's calling you aside, in the quiet of the night, to be still and listen. And the beauty of it is that God doesn't always need a loud voice or a dramatic event to get our attention. Sometimes, all He needs is our willingness to be present. This is where the transformation happens. When you recognize that God is speaking to you in those moments, it changes everything. No longer are you fighting against the stillness or cursing the wakefulness. Instead, you embrace it, knowing that this time is an opportunity for growth, reflection, and deepening your relationship with God. It's a quiet time where you can lay aside your burdens, surrender your anxieties, and simply be in His presence. The key moment is when you stop viewing 3 a.m. wake-ups as inconveniences and start seeing them as divine appointments. These early morning moments become times of peace, prayer, and reflection, whether it's a gentle whisper from God, a message of encouragement, or a moment of clarity on a decision you're struggling with. These early hours become sacred time, and it's in those quiet, still moments that we often hear God's voice more clearly than in the noise of the day. It's not always about getting a specific answer or receiving immediate insight. Sometimes the key moment is simply choosing to trust God with whatever thoughts or emotions arise during those hours. It's in choosing to pray, to listen, and to surrender in the stillness that you allow God to work in you. These moments become a spiritual practice, one that draws you closer to Him and strengthens your faith. The beauty of this key moment is that it requires us to slow down and acknowledge that God is always present, even in the darkest and most vulnerable times. By embracing these moments, you let God into your life in a way that builds intimacy with Him. These early morning wake-ups aren't just something to endure. They're a gift, an opportunity to grow deeper in faith and trust in God's plans for you. When you allow yourself to lean into God during these quiet moments, it's there that you'll find peace, comfort, and the strength to face whatever comes next. As you continue to embrace these 3 a.m. wake-ups and see them as invitations from God, you'll start to notice how they transform not just your nights, but your entire outlook on life. These moments of stillness offer a unique opportunity to grow in your relationship with God. It's during these times that your faith can deepen, and your trust in His presence and protection can grow stronger. When you start seeing these wake-ups as opportunities rather than interruptions, you open yourself up to the peace and clarity that God wants to offer you. The more you make these quiet, early hours a regular time of prayer and reflection, the more natural it will become to respond to God's call in those moments. Over time, you'll find that the anxiety of waking up in the middle of the night begins to fade. Instead, you'll anticipate these moments as sacred times when you can truly connect with God, share your thoughts, or simply rest in His presence. It's also important to recognize that these 3 a.m. moments aren't just about receiving a direct message from God every time. Sometimes, the peace that comes with being in God's presence is the message itself. It's in those quiet hours that God reassures us of His love, reminding us that He's always near, and that we don't have to face life's struggles alone. You may not always receive clear answers or immediate direction, but God's presence is a reminder that you are never truly alone, and that peace can replace your anxiety. You may also begin to notice that the more you embrace these moments with God, the more your spiritual life flourishes during the day. You'll find yourself more grounded in His peace, less easily shaken by the stresses of life, and more attuned to His voice throughout the day. The intimacy that grows in these quiet moments will overflow into your relationships, your decisions, and your perspective on the world. These 3 a.m. wake-ups can be the start of a new practice in your life, a practice of pausing, reflecting, and listening to God in ways that you might have missed during the busyness of the day. When you give Him that space in the night, you are strengthening your faith and deepening your relationship with Him. Over time, this practice will not only change the way you sleep, but transform how you live, as you learn to rely on God's peace, His guidance, and His constant presence in your life. So, as you continue on this journey, embrace these moments. Take them as divine appointments, as times when God is inviting you to rest in Him. Trust that these wake-ups are more than just physical occurrences. They are opportunities for spiritual growth, moments to hear from God, and times to be reminded that His peace is always available to you. As you move forward, take the lessons learned from these early morning wake-ups and let them shape your daily life. Don't let the opportunity to pray or reflect in those quiet moments go to waste. When you wake up at 3 a.m., don't just see it as a disruption to your sleep. See it as a gift, an invitation from God to spend time with Him. Embrace it. Pray. Listen, and allow yourself to be still in His presence. It's in these moments of stillness that you can find peace, clarity, and comfort. Start to view every 3 a.m. wake-up as a chance to deepen your connection with God. If you don't know what to pray or where to start, simply ask Him to speak to you, or thank Him for His protection and guidance. There's no formula, just an open heart, willing to receive what God has for you in those sacred, quiet moments. This practice doesn't have to be perfect. It's about showing up with an open mind and a willing spirit. And remember, these moments are not just about the nights you wake up at 3 a.m. They're about cultivating a deeper trust in God's timing and listening to His voice in all areas of life. The more you practice tuning into His voice during the quiet of the night, the more you'll hear Him during the day. In the midst of your busy routine, God is always present, and learning to connect with Him during these quiet, early hours will only make your relationship with Him stronger and more fulfilling. So, the next time you find yourself waking up at 3 a.m., don't get frustrated. Instead, embrace the opportunity to pause, listen, and connect with God. Allow these moments to transform your nights and your days, bringing peace, purpose, and clarity into every part of your life. You're not just getting a wake-up call from your body. You might just be receiving a divine message, a reminder of God's constant love, protection, and presence in your life. Use that time wisely and watch how it changes your perspective, your relationship with God, and your overall well-being.